Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your visualized, nostalgic hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other visualized and nostalgic host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
That was a tongue twister.
Oh, I know. And I
Say it three
immediately was
times.
challenged. Yeah, immediately I was challenged. I'm glad I did my vocal warm-ups once again.
Do you actually do vocal warm-ups?
No, I know. I mean, not for the
No.
podcast. I should, but like, I do them if I'm going to sing and things like that. Yeah, a little bit. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'll massage my jawline. I will, do mouth wide. You know,
Ah.
exactly.
Um, I just do like testing for the actual
Yeah.
like recording of it. So I do like testing one, two, three, and then I say like bad words. And then I listen to myself on repeat saying those bad words, and then I laugh.
Nice. And that gets you in the
Because
headspace you need to be in for this
basically,
podcast.
basically. So the crack.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Well, now
Yeah.
I'm mixing up crack and
Oh, so
occurrent
crack is what's going on with you that you
with
want to talk
me,
about.
and then
I can
occurrent.
talk. Do you want me to talk about what my crack
No,
is?
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
I mixed it up in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm embarrassed about because this is episode 18. What the fuck? So my dog had surgery.
Okay. Wow, that's new. What?
She cracked her tooth.
Oh, you did tell me about this. Uh-huh.
And so they weren't going to be able to get her in until like March.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took her in for a little doggy haircut the other day, and they were like, you were just the person we want to talk to because we have an opening tomorrow for her to
Nice.
get her tooth extraction and tooth cleaning. And I was like, cool. So she is in recovery. She had her like I guess dogs have like chewing teeth, kind of like we do. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a molar, but it's bigger and it has ridges. And I don't know what she chewed into. She cracked the tooth. So I had to extract it, pull it out, and she had like sutures and she has no dog toys. She hasn't been able to go for a walk for like four days, and we have to wait like five for her to like, but I think I might take her out today because
Mm-hmm.
and then she can only eat wet food, which she's loving because she eats wet food like three times a day instead of like the dry gruel that I normally give her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's just so fucking bored because I didn't really
Yeah.
realize like how much she plays with her doggy toys
Oh, yeah.
because
And
they're all over the house, and I'm always like picking them
yeah.
up, and so there's nothing to pick up, and you can tell that she's just kind of like, what am I like, she keeps like asking him to go outside, and like I let her outside and she just kind of like stands there and like looks around, and it's just kind of like, what am I supposed to be doing right now?
I
So
guess they'll come back in. Yeah.
I guess I'll come back in, and then
Yep.
I want to go back out again, and then back in and out and in and out. So yeah, that's happening. And then Mike has the dreaded man cold.
Ugh.
I know. So um I think he'll make it.
Mm-hmm. I hope
So
so.
I've implemented the Theraflu tactic
Mm-hmm.
and the empathy tactic and thermometer checks just to make him feel like
But
he's being
he's getting
he's
the
being
care
taken
that
seriously.
he's getting the care level he needs for this sort
Yeah.
of very serious
Yes.
situation. Yes, yes,
It's true. It's true. It's
absolutely
true.
good.
So,
Good.
yep.
I'm glad you're taking it seriously.
Thank you. I am very, very seriously. So, what's the crack with you?
So what's the crack with me? We are pretty close to associating the choir. We have a constitution put together now, which is exciting.
What does that mean?
So it is a set of rules essentially.
Okay.
So basically yeah, and again, this is
Like
all
a
me
like a mission statement or
kind of, but
a
also kind of like
constitution means something different here.
I think I know exactly what you mean, and I don't think it's too dissimilar because it is a set of rules that like so basically, we have to have meetings every now and again. In order for us to form, we must have certain rules that are filled.
Mm.
So it's got things that are, what might cause the dissolution of the group, what might cause it, and those sorts of things in there. Essentially, the partner that I work with on this, has got a template, and she kind of changed it for our needs, basically, you know.
That's
So
great. I was
it's
gonna say I have a template for like a board.
yeah, that would be like, and that's what exactly what we got, something like that. And
Mhm.
it's been great. So that's exciting. I also saw I went to see The Beekeeper last night, and
How was it?
um I enjoyed it, but like
It's John Statham, right?
Statham, yeah. So like um
We call him the guy because he's in everything. Mike's
he
like,
is and
you know,
everything.
the guy's in it.
Yeah, the
I'm like,
guy.
oh, the guy. Yeah.
I, I came out of it, I described it to my friend as the most dad movie for dads ever, as in that like, do you know like do you know like the show Reacher? It's basically like a lone badass comes in and sorts things out, where dads can kind of like imprint themselves in that and go, you know, I could have had a background in the CIA. I could have been a I could have actually,
Had
yeah,
I not been
it could have
bottle
been me.
feeding.
Could have been me. And the Beekeeper is exactly that. It's just that like this guy, this sort of badass, you know, who is a beekeeper, who is actually this like
He's
you
actually
know,
a beekeeper.
he is actually a beekeeper, but beekeeper means something else as well in this movie.
Okay.
But it's like I have never seen, but and also like all the bad guys are like young, like tech bros, and like they're talking about crypto, and they're on skateboards, and the guy does yoga and everything, which is a very much a sort of thing dads would be like, oh, bloody youth of today. You know, so it's the perfect enemy as well, you know. Um, but it like it escalates to a point of ludicrousness. Like I don't think a single character in it was developed at all. Um, but I had a blast. You know, it was just like it was very much, and even how it was shot, that sort of, you know, rich sort of like light was like very kind of an 80s sort of 90s cheesy action movie, you know, and it was fun. But like I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know whether it was an action movie or what, and it was just such at first I just didn't understand the tone, and then it was like something really daft happened, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. This is yeah, okay. I'm in. I'm ready
Yep.
to rock. So
Yep.
I enjoyed
Yep.
that a lot.
We started Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah,
Finally. Finally.
I still haven't seen it.
Okay. Um,
Mm.
it's good. I think it's worth
Yeah,
a watch.
I
But
I
it's also it's like I can't tell if it's like the Irish have come over to England and they're like
yeah.
the IRA is involved and there's a lot of like that
I
kind of stuff.
I don't know. And I mean, like, what has put me off that show is that there's in the sort of wake of its success, there was a Belfast bar that rebranded as Peaky Blinders, and the guys all dressed up like that, and I fucking hate that show so much. And it put me off both that bar and the show itself, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Um, so, but I understand that, like, because some people have said, you know, like I've heard recommendations from some people. I know that there's like a couple of seasons where Cillian Murphy took over, and
Like
or
directing?
Kelly, I think he ran the show for a couple of
Oh
seasons as my,
wow.
so like he was involved in the
Guy's a
story and stuff.
badass.
Is awesome. He's the
He's
best.
really watchable.
And he has excellent taste in music. Like every now and again on Radio 6, he does like a 2 hour show, and he just has great. Like he was the one, I think I told you this before. You know that song, Old Note,
Yes.
the folk song.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
him that played it that really kind
Okay.
of connected with me.
Yeah.
Um,
They're playing
so
a lot of
he
Nick
rocks.
Cave and the Bad Seeds, who
Nice.
I like.
Yeah, he's great. So yeah,
Ooh.
so that was where did we get onto?
We were
Um,
talking about how you're doing, and you went to see The Beekeeper, and then I
oh
was
yeah.
like, I'm watching things
Peaky
too.
Blinders. Yes, that was it. That was
Peaky
it. Yeah,
Blinders.
so
Yeah, yeah.
I might do, but like I like the fact that each season is about, you know, 6 episodes long, which is manageable. Which whenever I see a show that's like 4 or 5 seasons and every season's like 20 episodes long, and I just don't have the stamina for that anymore at all.
No,
So yeah.
no.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice to find a show that like Mike will watch
Yes.
and not be like, I'm gonna, look at
Yeah.
car parts on my iPad
Yeah.
next to you.
Yeah. That is good.
Yeah.
So that's
I've saved murder for you know, when I'm folding laundry.
That's smart. The
Yep.
Murdery podcasts, yes.
Or documentaries about murder, which
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yes. So
It's a
okay,
big deal.
do we want to talk about, do you have anything else to add about
No,
what's going
that's the
on in
crack
your
with me
life?
this week.
Okay, good crack. Good crack.
Good crack. It is. That good crack works, yeah.
Can I make a t-shirt that says what's the crack?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so what's occurring?
Sure. Yep. Let's do it.
So speaking of shirts, I just ordered so I'm a merchaholic right now. I am making merchandise like there's no tomorrow. So we have
Love it.
bags with a turnip, we have shirts with a turnip, we have a tumbler with a turnip, and now I'm branching out beyond the turnip and I'm trying to think of other funny things that people would like to wear. So
Love it.
the store is open. Go to bendypodcast.com, buy some stuff because I'm having fun with it, and my daughter is actually helping to design some of it
Nice.
as well. So she's
Oh,
9. It's
yeah.
great.
And she did our logo as well, which is
She did
amazing.
our logo. I know. That was
I
your
want
idea.
that's true, but she did a great job with it. She killed it.
Mhm.
So I wonder long term, could we maybe get like turnip like pillows or like turnip stuffed toys or
I
things like
was
that?
thinking
It's
a
probably a
stuffy.
more elaborate project, but you know,
Yeah,
uh,
but
that'd be nice.
I was thinking like I would do 2 versions. I would do the fun, cute one that I made for the t-shirt and then actual like the one based on the ones in the Smithsonian Museum that are quite
Yes.
terrifying. And then someone else, a friend of mine was like, check out what my mom made us make. Did we talk
Hmm.
about this already? The apples, where
I
you
don't
like
think so.
carve a face in an apple and then
No.
you let the apple like basically dry up and shrivel up and it makes the most horrifying grotesque
Oh, interesting.
apple faces. I'll send it to you.
I can
Um
see that
yeah,
being,
it's terrifying. And I was
yeah.
just like, what the hell? Like why? And she was like, I don't know, but I'm still scarred for life. And I was like, well, that's the whole point of parenting, right?
Well, exactly.
So um so please check out our merch, buy the merch,
Hmm.
so that we can this is like our little podcast baby, our
Yes,
little podcast that could, and I want to keep it rolling.
we wanted to grow. I do a handsome, strapping
And I'm
young lad.
trying to learn how to sell on Facebook and Insta, but it fucking sucks. And just go
Yeah,
to the website and make my
yeah.
life easier, everyone.
Please.
So I had a little video short go viral on YouTube
Hmm.
about you've got the touch, you've got the power from Transformers
So
from
good.
a previous episode. And so someone mentioned that Dirk Diggler slash Mark Wahlberg also has a connection to the Transformer movies.
Hmm. It's
So
true.
uh-huh. And so as well as Boogie Nights. So J Star 9J 9PU. Thank you for that. He also threw out a gauntlet to connect Marvel movies to Boogie Nights using only awesome mixtapes.
Okay.
I was
Interesting.
like, I know, which is impossible, but he's funny. So, or they're funny, whoever you are.
I like it.
J Star.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. For the laugh. So that's what I've got for the crack.
Love it.
Or sorry,
What's occurring?
occurring.
So the thing that I wanted to bring up in terms of what's occurring this week was so Beth, is this something like we've touched upon in terms of like I'm always like, am I Irish? Am I Northern Irish? Am I whatever? But Beth sent me like a sort of graph or
It
a
was a Venn
Venn
diagram.
diagram, thank you, that's the word I was looking for, of
Uh-huh.
how to categorize like both the United Kingdom, both Great Britain, both the British Isles, and it is a nightmare. So I think we should include that with this episode so people can kind of see just like for people who don't understand just how complex it is actually is, because like, in Northern Ireland, you'd think, are we part of the United Kingdom? Nope. No, and even on our passports, oh, my passport was here. The passport says United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, right? I know.
I
Uh,
sent it to you and I was like, is this accurate?
and I
Because
was like, yep,
it's confusing as hell. And you were like, yes, no, this is why I'm always like hedging what I'm saying.
yeah,
And it's
uh,
like at the center of the Venn diagram is Northern Ireland.
yeah, that's true. We are all over the shop. And like, I was thinking, even looking at that, I was like, that's not even taking into account the Commonwealth as well, like the British Commonwealth, which is a whole other nightmare, like. So yeah. So I mean, and the other thing about it is that I don't really, particularly feel any strong association to any sort of nationality either, but people like you to be identified, thusly. So I can understand. But also for my own amusement, I will constantly change what I am in nationality wise. So watch out.
Which Andy will you get today?
Which enemy you get today? Which passport will he have on him at the time?
How many passports do you have?
Two,
Huh,
right? Pretty
lucky.
fancy, I know.
Fancy. And you're like, oh, it's just sitting on my desk.
Exactly. It's just like whatever. Because it's sitting on my desk because yeah, I'll do an update on this whenever it happens. So my sister and I are taking my mom to Harry Potter World in February. Yeah.
Where? What
It's
country?
in England.
Oh, really? Did you go to
Hmm.
the one here?
I don't think so. No. I like
You would
here's the
know.
thing. I'm not
You would
I'm
know.
not like a big Harry. I don't mind Harry Potter. It's fine. I never read the books. I've seen a chunk of the movies, but like I was never big into it. But my sister and my mum are. And I was like,
I'm
yeah, I'll go,
so,
sure.
so disappointed in you.
My absolute favorite thing about Harry Potter, hands down, is telling Harry Potter fans what house I am because they're always like, because so I've had to take a test.
You're
I'm
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor, yeah, I am. And
Yeah.
every time you tell people you're Gryffindor, they go, "Oh, of course you are," and it makes me very happy every time. Oh, of course you're Gryffindor. It's it's my favorite reaction to things.
I am also Gryffindor.
Yeah.
I know my Patronus.
Oh, you do you?
Yeah, you can like go to the website and take
I've
all these
done that
tests.
before. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm like a white, uh, I'm like a Siberian house cat or something.
Yeah. I feel like mine was like I have done it before now you mentioned it, and I feel like mine was a mink or something like that. It was some pretty, you
You were
know,
like, I want a stag, right?
yeah,
Or
it was
like
some sort of like
something.
I don't even need like a stag or a wolf or something like that, but
Mhm.
like not something that is actual vermin, or no, maybe it's not. I don't want to say that in case I get in
Uh,
trouble.
I mean, I think a mink is like in the rodent family.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. So I think I'd rather not have a rat of the rat variety. So,
Right,
but
right.
maybe I'm just being picky. I should just embrace it.
And they were like, that's it, Harry Potter, I'm done
That's
because
it. Yeah, you're dead to me because you've maligned me
so
as such.
I worked at at an as a teacher's assistant for 6 years, and that was like during the Harry Potter, like beginning of Harry Potter, and it was so fascinating to see the like we would have kids because part of my job was to like go to the library and like the little library at the school and like we reshelve all the books, and the number of kids that were excited to read this book series, and it went from like no one wanted to read books to like everyone wanted to read
Yeah,
books, and we had to order copies, there weren't enough copies. um and yeah, I have a lot of Harry Potter stories. We can
it's
that's its own topic.
we could do a Harry Potter episode. Like,
Yep.
hey, let's do that when I come back. We can have a Harry Potter
Hmm,
episode.
hmm, hmm.
It's
When
interesting
so when are
because
you going?
like really soon, a couple of weeks, so
Okay.
we can get one of the books. Um, the yeah, because it's like one of the top 10 best-selling books ever, like including the Bible, including Lord of the Rings, which is staggering. And I mean, like, I'm all in favor of things that just get people to read books. Because I remember even like whenever 50 Shades of Grey was going through its thing, and everybody's like, oh, is this good? Oh, is it good that this is what people are reading?
You're
It's
like,
like,
just read it.
let people read stuff. People are reading, that's good. So like who really cares what, I mean, I don't really know the content.
uh
I don't really know the content
you're
of
like,
that book,
don't
so
be
I'll
reading
be.
Mein Kampf.
Yeah, I don't read Mein Kampf. Yeah, let's knock that in the head. But apart from that, it's mostly good. Like 99% of it's fine, I guess.
I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan.
My mom read them to me, which is the more I think about it, it was such a task as a
Oh,
kid. So I think I
wow.
had an attachment to it that way. And she read The
Uh-huh.
Hobbit to me and stuff. I think maybe she read The Hobbit to me and I read Lord of the Rings, but that's why those books were really important to me.
Yeah, I just shit all over that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No, I can still go, I can still acknowledge that they're like, it's a clunky read. It really is, and it's all over the map. But it's like, you're ready for a really controversial opinion, and this can segue into our movies. It's like
Okay.
I'm a Star Wars fan, but I think the vast majority of Star Wars content's bad, you know?
It's the same story.
And to its detriment, because they're like, well, I guess this is what the fans want. And it's
They
like,
just keep building
no,
another Death Star
yes. Oh,
and
don't
blowing
even,
up a planet.
I
I
don't even want
mean,
it. Yeah.
and now it's a family joke where we're like, something's happening and they're building like a galactic da da da. And like we start inserting the word again into
Yes.
like whatever they're
Oh,
doing as the credits are coming or the intro credits are like sliding up the screen.
because it was, I think like basically Palpatine being back was explained as like somehow he has returned, and it's like that's the explanation we're getting somehow. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Just blame the
Anyway,
metaverse.
this is the perfect segue into our topic of this week's podcast, which is the movies that made us. Is that what we're calling it?
That's what we're calling it.
Okay.
Movies that I love it. Movies that made us. Some of
Um,
mine are weird.
I might have, oh, so yeah, me too. Some like I may have lifted that, but who knows? I feel like I've heard that somewhere before, but it's relevant to this, and it's relevant to the subject we're talking about, which is, sorry, excuse me, which is our the movies that we saw as like a kid or as teenagers that really kind of made an impact on us. Probably informed our tastes to this day.
Mhm.
So, do you have any you want to lead off with, Beth, or anything you want to like maybe do you have a memory of a movie, maybe the first movie you saw or anything like that?
Oh, I remember seeing Bambi in the movie theater
Oh
and
wow.
crying and leaving.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was when Bambi's mother died, and I was just like, what? And
Yeah.
left crying. The same thing happened with Dances with Wolves. Once they shot the wolf and the horse, I was like, fuck this, and left.
The
So,
it's interesting, like, and I think that's a really interesting thing in terms of like how movies have changed and how like sanitized and stuff they are. It's like when you can't show, that sort of stuff to kids anymore. And it's like, well, why? And I mean, like, even though it was traumatizing, it did kind of prepare you for what's to come. But like, I feel like there was a time very much so when it was like, if a movie was a cartoon, it was like, oh, it's for kids though. And there was some with like really kind of like, so the one for me, Bambi, I remember seeing Bambi and being like, whoa. But the one that really sticks in my head is a movie called Watership Down.
I read the book, but I never saw the movie.
It was,
Really intense.
whoa,
Very
yeah,
grown-up themes,
very grown up themes. Yeah, very, very grown up themes.
but with
Um,
rabbits,
yes, exactly.
but with bunnies.
Yeah. So like it was that's the one that really stuck with me in terms of me going, whoa, what is this? And like, really kind of like having an impact on me as a kid in that way.
Mhm. Do you have any movies where you actually like were able to like go to the place that it was filmed or like had some sort of like personal attachment?
Not so much, and like only in recent years, to my knowledge, have things
Okay.
like properly been filmed here, with Game of Thrones and everything, and us having a proper film studio. So not really so much, no. Has that been your experience with something?
Yes. Thanks
Okay.
for asking, Andy.
Great.
So the Goonies.
Yes.
Uh-huh. I'm a Goonie. I know you're a Goonie. Like I
Hmm.
still think of myself as a Goonie and I'm like 43 or 44 years old
Hmm.
and I'm proud of it. I wear it like I don't know, a badge
Of
on my
honor.
heart. Uh-huh.
Sure.
But it was filmed in Oregon,
Oh,
in this
wow.
little town called Astoria. And I should have taken you there to because you can actually the Goonies house is still there.
Is it far from
It's like no,
Portland?
it's like maybe like an hour and a half.
Okay. Hmm.
And obviously like some of it was filmed on like this part of the beach, some of it was filmed on like Cannon Beach versus Astoria, like Haystack Rock. They're,
Hmm.
2 hours drive apart, but the majority of it was filmed, yeah, in this little town of Astoria. And it's so awesome to see like and I remember like you're allowed to walk up to the Goonies house. Someone actually lives there, and it's up for sale every so often, and someone buys it, and like you buy the house knowing that you're gonna get all these Goonies fans that are like gonna come up and like now take selfies. Um, but yeah, the house is still there, and the bank
It's
is still there, and
that's nuts.
yeah, the
It's quite
historical society where his dad worked is still there. It's all still there.
That's nice. Like
Yeah.
because I think I've heard the name when you said a story, it sounded familiar.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess the town itself is quite famous. Like I think I'm almost certain I've like even like there was a podcast I listened to a while ago called I Was There Too, and it was the guy interviewed like background extras in films,
Mhm.
prominent background extras in films, and I feel like they may have touched on that because a lot of this sounds quite familiar.
They filmed a lot of movies there. Kindergarten
Yeah.
Cop was filmed there. Into the
Okay.
Wild was filmed there. I mean, I could go on and on. It's a, it's just, it's kind of like every town on on the
Yeah,
coast,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So it's useful, yeah,
Hmm.
fill in for a
Hmm.
lot of things. It
Yeah.
it's interesting that you talk about that because I'm going to talk about a recent film where that happened with me, which was I went to see Transformers: Rise of the Beasts last year. Just forgive me, whoever's listening. I went to see it because I had a free movie pass, and I was just like, whatever. And it was not great, but it was fine. But
Was Mark Wahlberg in it?
no, this is a reset basically back to the 80s. So it's like there was a Bumblebee movie with
Hmm.
Haley Steinfeld, and
Hmm.
it's kind of tying it all back then. So it's like set in the past. So it's like the Transformers are first on Earth or whatever. But
Do they do the you know what I hate about the Transformer movies is
mhm,
the speed at which they transform as opposed to the speed at which they transformed when we were kids.
sure.
And you had the
Which
toy in front of you, or like the cartoon where they were like ka-chunk, ka-chunk,
yeah.
ka-chunk, right? I want more ka-chunk.
I That's a good question. It does feel more like the toys this time round.
Okay. All right.
But I it was better than a lot of the big mainline Transformer movies I've seen, but that's not saying much because most of them are pretty terrible, I think. But in this movie, they were in Cusco, which is where I was dropped in Peru, and there's a big parade in the square, which I took a photo of, though when it was empty. And near the end, there's like a bit of a chase where, like, I think Optimus Prime is being chased or is chasing, who knows. And they go up this street, and at the top of that street was where the
The
hostel
hostel.
that I was staying in was. Yeah, it was
Uh-huh.
just nuts to see. It was real. I just didn't expect that to be in there, so it was kind of quite a you know
I
touch with
just
reality.
I just followed you back on YouTube
Hmm.
from our Bendy channel, and I don't think I was following you, or like I so I saw all of your like
The Peru videos.
your Peru videos
Have you not
and
seen
the
them
title.
before?
Well, I have because you were
Uh,
posting them or
oh,
you
I
were
did.
sending them, but like the titles of them are so funny.
Oh
They're
yeah.
so funny. You're just so funny.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Hmm.
Um, comedy movie that you were like, "Oh, this is what funny movies are," or like,
Like, I mean, I loved, I think I might have mentioned this before our Christmas episode, but Scrooged, I remember going to see Scrooged as a kid and loving it. It just really, in recent years, I've watched it and the amount of jokes that I didn't get, but I still really liked Bill Murray and I really liked his sort of vibe. So, like,
mhm,
that's the one that I remember seeing in the cinema. Like, I think I was maybe a little bit older there because I feel like I didn't watch a ton of movies until I was maybe um getting into like maybe like 10, 11, 12, and then I really started getting into them in a major way. But I have such a strong memory seeing Scrooged, which I think is what late 80s, so I would have still only been about 10 or so then.
yeah,
um I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. It was probably
yeah,
wasn't completely appropriate for my age, but back then it didn't really matter. you know
yeah. I also watched a lot of movies that were not age appropriate.
hmm
Like my dad would buy VHS tapes and of all sorts of movies, and then be
yes,
like, "Whatever you do, don't watch Altered States."
sure, it's a good idea.
right?
Hmm.
And I'd be like, okay, so he would leave, and then I would watch Altered States and be like, oh, sensory deprivation tank, drugs, eating a goat,
Yeah,
running naked. What?
that movie's intense. Like it
It is
really
intense.
is.
It is
I,
intense.
so
I think I was like 10 or 11 when I watched that for the first time.
because and that's the thing, isn't it? Because like back then it was like, you would have a selection of VHS tapes and those were the movies that you watched. So you would end up
That's
watching
it.
them again and again and again.
Well, we
Because
didn't have cable.
yeah, so this is what can you do? Yeah, I mean like and and for us in the UK, it's like you only had the four channels, so it was there's a lot of time there wasn't much of interest on. So instead I remember we had so this must be later on, getting into the 90s. We had Demolition Man, which I was obsessed with, the
Uh-huh.
Sylvester Stallone one. We also had a copy of Falling Down, the Michael Douglas movie.
Oh my
It's
God. Uh-huh.
a great one.
Uh-huh.
And I
I
watched it
remember
a
watching
lot.
that in high school, watching it over and over. I haven't seen it in so long. I totally need to watch it.
I rewatched it a few years back and it was still pretty great.
Does it still hold up?
Mm, I think so. It was
Okay.
definitely worth a look. I really enjoyed it. But it was such an interesting thing because then we probably had other VHSs, I'm sure we did, but those two in particular were ones that I probably wore the tape out. Like I watched them so much, and like I'm sure I was watching Falling Down. I think it was an 18, and I'm sure I was
Yeah.
watching it well before then.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching it in high school for the first time. So like I was 14 or 15
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Um, so I grew up on a lot of silent films.
Hmm.
So like Buster Keaton,
Nice.
Charlie Chaplin movies.
Hmm.
My dad was a history professor and also like a super movie buff, and he was like, well, if you're gonna start watching movies, like you need to start at the beginning. And like so I watched every Buster Keaton
Nice.
movie,
Wow.
every Charlie Chaplin movie with the music and um and then that translated into watching Singing in the Rain and like the transition of movies going from silent pictures to talking
It's
pictures.
great.
Um, and I haven't really watched all them recently,
Hmm.
but I have fond memories of like sitting there and reading the screen and, you know,
I mean, because like I remember I don't think I really had a great movie education that way. It was just kind of like because I do remember like in my teenage years being excited about stuff, like really starting to get into it. And we have, I think it's famous in the US as well. We have like Empire Film Magazine, buying it regularly and
mhm,
having a pretty good idea about what was coming out and what was, figuring out what my interests and stuff were.
mhm.
But like I only in recent years, so there's a movie podcast I listen to called Blank Check, and the setup for their show is that they watch all the movies in the career of certain directors, and the sort of idea is that these directors make something big, and they're then given a series of blank checks or a blank check to create whatever they want, and it's like so it's these weird, wonderful roller coasters in people's careers. Like they did Sam Raimi, which was really
I
interesting.
love Sam
So did
Raimi.
I. And it was
Hmm.
such a good. It was like there was loads of stuff, his stuff that I hadn't really. And it like in theory, my plan was always to kind of watch the films as I go, and I sometimes watch some of them. But they did Buster Keaton, and I had never watched a Buster Keaton before, and watched a few of them, and they were so good. I can't
Yeah.
remember the one that I really loved. I'm gonna try to remember the name of it, but there was he was like working in this theater, like and he was cleaning the theater up, and there's like a dream sequence where he steps into the movie and stuff like that. I'll find out, but it
Yeah.
was really wonderful because I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know whether this is going to be like, the language of films back then can make them a bit difficult to watch because all of our attention spans are decimated.
Yes.
But
Completely.
like they were great, they were still so good, and he was so you could he really drew your eyes to the screen.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's interesting too because you can see like how those early pictures shaped everything else that came after. You're
Very
like, oh, I
much so.
recognize that, or oh, that's where that came from. That's where that came from. And like the idea of like not breaking the fourth wall, but like going into something like that, and then you're like, oh, that it's
W-
like the Wizard of Oz, and
Very much so. And they were like
yeah.
really breaking new ground there as well, which is so
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
And there
think
were
you.
actually a lot of silent movies that were filmed. I did a project like seventh grade, so
Mhm.
middle school, about the history of silent movies in the state of Oregon. So I was
Nice.
like going to the Oregon Historical Society and like interviewing, people that had worked on the silent films, and it was interesting. So
Yeah, that is
I'm a
like
big nerd.
I love it. That's great. I think it's such yeah, I think you would love that podcast, by the way. I think you would find it
Okay.
very interesting. And like what was great about that is they went into like,
You
they
said you
went
call it blank check.
blank check, yeah. Like so like with Buster Keaton, they talked about his like his personal life around these films and how it shaped various things and why certain projects turned out the way they did. It was very interesting. But yeah, and but like I
So
mean,
they had a podcast where they do homework and like
yeah. No, hey,
prepare.
hey, they have a researcher, so they don't even have to do the
Okay.
homework. They come in and have a dossier
They're
handed
like,
to
all
them.
right. Thanks,
Yeah,
Doug.
that's what we need. So yeah, we're
We need a Doug.
and we do need a dog. We're interviewing for a researcher.
Let us know, people.
Please. Um,
Please.
the other like, and because we started talking about animated movies earlier on. I want before we like could get completely far away from that, I have wanted to touch on two. I have mentioned these before. Two that were really kind of resonant with me. One, another one that was like kind of so there's the snowman, the animated thing. No,
Oh yeah,
okay.
I do.
Right?
It's like is it
Walking in the
claymation?
air. No, it's an animated thing. It's like a very specific style of animation, but it's like mostly as my memory of it is mostly like this sort of choral sort of song and this snowman taking a boy and they're flying through the sky and stuff like that.
Never seen it.
It was really important in the UK. It was like certainly whenever I was a kid. Um, but I think it was the same creator, either the same animator or the same kind of writer had done this other story called When the Wind Blows.
Mhm.
And it's about this like elderly couple who live, and it's like so sweet on the surface. And again, animated, so it must be for kids. And it's about this elderly couple who live in the countryside, and they're having this like nice idyllic life. And then there's a nuclear attack, and it's them. I know,
What the fuck?
right? Can you imagine what that was like as a kid? I was like, what is this? This is wild. So it's really kind of bittersweet but at the time my brain just did not know what to make of it, It's very interesting. The other one, and the thing that has shaped my life and also affects how I like process animated films from here until forever, was An American Tail. I know we've talked about this in the
Oh,
podcast
we have.
before,
Hmm.
and I think just because I felt, oh, woe is me, I'm a poor boy who nobody understands. So whenever like Fievel was going, when he was lost, that really resonated with me, and I still remember like singing that song and crying afterwards because it was just felt so it really felt in touch with where I was at that time. And
Hmm.
it's why to this day, animated movies will make me cry. The slightest bit of emotion, I'll be a blubbering mess.
I cry. I cry all the time.
Yeah.
Like watching movies with the kids, I'm just like, especially as an adult now, and you really see the deeper meaning and how
Yes.
it, you know, how we see ourselves within the characters, and oh, oh, little Andy.
I know. I know.
Oh, little Andy.
I know. I mean, like I'm not that dissimilar, but like a little.
Hmm.
But that's so. Yeah. Sorry, just to go back to that. These were all the ones that were kind of important to me as a kid, certainly. Anyway.
Hmm.
Are there before we get because like I want to maybe talk a little bit about films that were important to us as we got older. I think we've sort of touched on that a bit. Were there any other movies like as a kid that were kind of that resonate with you or like have stayed with you?
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna say Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
everything.
Sure.
So like
Close
E.T.,
Encounters, yeah,
Close
E.T.
Encounters was huge. Like
Yeah,
what? Like da 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 da. Like what?
yeah.
Like I couldn't even. And like um I still reference the mashed potatoes that he's
Oh
built,
yes,
like
that he
about
built the
the
smokestack
devil's,
mountain.
yeah, whatever
Yeah.
the name of, I can't remember, the
I think it
devil's
was the Devil's
something,
Tower. I think it's the
devil's
Devil's
tower.
Tower. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Like this is important, this means something. I just want to back up to Sam Raimi
Sure.
and just talk about his friendship with Bruce Campbell. Have we talked about this before?
No, I don't think so.
So they did Evil Dead and Army of Darkness
Yes.
together, and they're like such good friends that
Yes.
if you watch any Sam Raimi movie, there's always a Bruce Campbell.
Oh yes, I didn't know that.
And yeah, he appears as, the ringmaster at the wrestling
Yes.
tournament, or
And
like
Spider-Man,
he's
yeah,
the ticket taker. Yeah.
he
So I'm
is,
like,
yeah.
oh, it's
Who
Bruce
won't let Peter
Campbell.
Parker in? Yeah, he's
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, because he was in because Sam Raimi did the most recent Doctor Strange movie,
Hmm.
and Bruce Campbell was in it as this like a guy who sold these pizza pops and called himself the Pizza Papa. I don't
Yes,
know if you've seen it. It was
I
great.
did. I
He's the
love Doctor
best.
Strange. So I'm like all over the place.
It's fun.
I will, yeah, so anything Steven Spielberg, like
Yep,
just amazing. I will say probably the one that has stuck with me that I just like love, 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 love is Wayne's World.
sure. It's a great one.
Yeah. And that kind of it like started shaping my sense of humor a little bit.
Hmm.
And like I'll watch it once a year and it's still like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I quote it all the time because
Yeah.
I'm that person. Like, sure, monkeys might fly out of my butt.
Sure.
Like,
It's
oh,
so
the
good
Mirth
though.
Mobile. I know, right?
I mean, it's even things like the girl he's dating, and she buys him a gun rack as a present.
So what am I gonna do with a gun rack? I
I
don't
don't own
own
a
a
gun,
gun
never mind many
that
guns.
would necessitate an entire rack.
Exactly. Oh, it's so good.
So yeah.
Uh, it's a cracker. I wonder did I see a bit later on? I don't know, but I remember adoring that too.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's ones that people will point out to me and I'll be like, oh yeah, I really love that, but they just haven't had that staying power in my brain compared to other
Hmm.
things, you know?
Hmm.
It's funny.
I have one more for you.
Go for it.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I didn't see it until a bit later on either, but it's great.
Uh-huh. So the kids love it, and it's so they're making another one.
I've heard this.
And I'm so excited. And I don't know they made it into a musical, but like the original is just so weird and good. And like, what a concept. And like, how did he come up? Who came up with that idea? And,
It's true.
you know, sandworms. And then I always go
Yeah,
back to Dune, right?
true.
And then we go to Tremors because sandworms, right?
Yes, it's true. The
But
classic monster.
it's right. But I would say those are probably the ones that are like I still have the DVDs. Like I went from VHS and then like bought them on DVDs when the power goes out or like the
Yeah.
internet's slow. Then I'm like, do you guys want to watch Wayne's World or Beetlejuice? And they don't quite get the kids don't quite get Wayne's World.
Hmm.
But it's like sucking on a jelly donut with a straw. So
Love it.
gross. Stan Mikita's Donuts, and the guy's up 24 hours a day, who's like the donut
So
guy,
good.
and he's from Married with Children. Anyways,
I um
I could go on about Wayne's World. I think like that, I could just talk about it. I could
it
just speak you the whole movie, and I'm not going to do that.
it is but it is it's an all-time classic. I think it's that way for you're just right to love that film because it's
Yeah,
fantastic. It's
yeah.
I don't know why it's from I think in the beginning of my sort of like love for superheroes as well. I don't know why this occurred to me as you were talking. It was like
Yep.
the Tim Burton Batman.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the best one.
Loved it.
So
And
good.
Batman Returns, both of them were just like, this is exactly my shit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And like not at that point, Michael Keaton had only really been doing like comedy
Yeah.
movies, like Night Shift and which if you haven't seen it, super
Beetlejuice, of
funny. You
course.
should,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And to pick him for Batman, it was like not a choice that like anyone expected, but
Yeah,
to me, he's the Batman.
but
He is Batman.
like I mean, then you've got like Robert Pattinson doing it. Like in recent years, nobody like 10 years ago, everybody been like, "What? Robert Pattinson doing it?" And he was great. He did a great job. Like he
Yeah,
really did.
yeah.
Um,
All that black eye makeup.
oh, that's so emo. I mean, that's exactly what Batman should be. And I remember seeing how angry it made some people like, "Oh, Batman wouldn't wear dark eyed makeup," and he's like, of course he would.
He's
That's
wearing
part of the costume. He always does.
he's wearing a costume.
Yeah, it's so funny. Um. But yeah, it was another cracker. The other thing I wanted to ask was, because like I suppose certainly as I got older and I got more aware of movies and the same my taste, and I was reading magazines and things like that, I was then like anticipating films, and I was also then starting to like be annoyed that I couldn't see certain films because of the age rating. Was there? So I guess my question is, was there things that you were excited for as a teenager that you didn't get to see, or were there things that you maybe sneaked into that you maybe shouldn't have gone to see?
It's embarrassing to say, but yes, I snuck in to Interview with a Vampire.
Ooh, that's a
And
good movie.
I mean, is it though?
I recall enjoying it. I don't know whether it holds up, but I recall enjoying it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it was the first time I was allowed to go to the movie theater with boys.
Ooh,
Sorry, the dog is barking in the background.
sorry.
And so like I was too embarrassed to like go to the bathroom
Hmm.
because I was like 17 or 16. I was sheltered. I was sheltered teen. But so I held it, and like then I had to get a ride home, right? And it was like they dropped off everybody else before me.
Oh no, so you needed to
I was
pee the
just
whole
like,
time?
I had to pee so
Oh
fucking
wow.
bad. That's what I remember is like Interview with the Vampire having to pee so bad. And like, yeah, we did. We totally snuck in, and like we were like convinced that so we sat in the front row. We were convinced that they were gonna like come and like try and check our IDs and like kick us out. Like no one cared. No one cared
Yeah, this is the
at
thing.
all.
They just
Yeah,
couldn't give a shit. And I mean,
they
like
couldn't give a shit.
pretty quickly when I was about 16 or so, I figured out the places that were didn't really care, and I could get into see 18 films.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, the ones that I was really excited for, and I got in to see them all, and really kind of were formative for me in terms of like my taste in movies and stuff, was Pulp Fiction. That was a big
Mm.
deal because I
Yep.
think I was 16 when it came out. I got in to see that. Seven, which
That was, I remember watching that at a friend's house on Laserdisc.
nice. Good old
Yeah.
laser discs, hard to
Uh-huh.
beat.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was another really intense one, but I remember it really staying with me.
I still
And
watch that once a year because I love
oh, really?
murder.
I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen it for a
It
long
holds, it
time.
totally holds up.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
if you want to go somewhere dark, watch that movie again
My,
because it's really good.
that
It's really
podcast I was
good.
talking about just did Dave Fincher as well, so it's a good
Hmm.
excuse me to. Anyway,
Yeah.
so the other one was Trainspotting, which really kind of was just such a sort of powerful movie at that age because
Yes.
although it was about drugs, it was also about being a teenager and figuring out
Yeah.
what life was as an adult, so
Yeah.
it really stayed with me.
Shitting in your girlfriend's bed and then having
That seems so
it's
gross and amazing at the same
so
time.
bad. It's so bad. It's so good. I'll say another one that I wasn't, my dad was like, don't watch this. Okay, I'm leaving now. Um, and he held on to this one for probably till I was in high school, but was A Clockwork Orange.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That'll fuck a kid up.
So did you know? Okay, so this is actually it opens up a whole interesting subject, which if you talk about, I can only talk about it because I haven't researched this, but there was for a long time
Come on, Doug.
there was certain film there's certain films in the UK that were deemed as video nasties and were not allowed to be shown anywhere,
At
like
all.
Clockwork Orange was one of those films.
Uh-huh.
So, and like, so was I think the first Evil Dead and things like that. So, like, basically, I don't think you could watch Clockwork Orange in the UK until the mid 90s, I think, something
Wow.
like that. Um, at least legally anyway. So it was such a sort of, wow, what is this thing? Holy shit. As was Evil Dead, I remember, but like, then you kind of see Clockwork Orange and you're like, Okay, because like it's coming off the back of so much hype and so much, and like don't get me wrong, that's an extreme movie and it's got a lot of like sort of um weird kind of nasty shit in there, but like I think once you'd seen things like Seven and stuff like that, and other stuff that it was like you were kind of a bit more desensitized
You
to
were
it.
like, why?
Yeah, and because it was
Yeah,
like in the 70s, what was subversive then, it kind of, becomes less subversive. So it just didn't seem quite as much of a sort of hammer blow as I was expecting. I was really kind of excited to see this really kind of crazy movie, and it was just a wee bit disappointing.
yeah, yeah. I haven't watched it. I mean, it's probably been 20 years.
Mm.
I probably watched it like 5 times and I was like, okay, like I get it. I think it was a book before it was a movie. I'm not actually
Yeah, I think
sure.
you're right. Yeah.
Um, and Kubrick is just
He's the master.
a weird, like uncomfortable
It's true.
things. Um, and like, yeah,
I,
The Shining and all of
I,
that.
I,
I haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut and I need to see
neither
that.
have I, and I keep meaning
Okay.
to. Yeah,
Maybe that will be a mini-sode.
we can't do a mini than that. Yeah. I only recently watched Barry Lyndon,
Oh
and
yeah,
uh,
that's a good
that's
one.
that's such a like as I was like watching it, and I
That was like
really
it was a two VHS.
it was because it was like
Yeah.
3 hours long,
Uh-huh.
and
Uh-huh.
I went in knowing very little about it, and then it was like 10, 15 minutes in, I was like, oh, this is set in Ireland, or at least. And I was like, oh, that's an Irish accent that what's he called? The main guy, Ryan O'Neill, is trying to do an
Yeah.
Irish accent.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, ah, interesting. But it was great. It was great fun. It really was. It was really kind of daft and kind of very entertaining. So I was glad to finally get around to watching it. But there's a few other Kubrick ones I have not got around to, and I really kind of they're on my list. They're on my list. Once I've watched all the Harry Potters again, of course, in preparation for
Right.
my trip.
You do all of them.
All
And
of
they
them.
split the Deathly Hallows into two.
Just not work for a week and just watch Harry
Yeah.
Potter movies.
Uh-huh. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It's
Yeah.
really cool. It's really
I,
cool. Buy a
I,
wand, do the spells.
oh yeah, I'll have a blast, and I'll fully
Yeah,
engage with all the kind of
I
nonsense. Like
do. I do.
I will. Um, the other one that I didn't mention was Clerks was really important for
You're
me.
like I'm like, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. These are
Yep.
like all of these were as equally as influential. Like Clerks, Mallrats, like Kevin
Oh
Smith,
yeah,
anything Kevin Smith. Have you
yeah.
ever seen him any of his like live performance
Yeah,
recordings? Like
he's
seen
so
him
good.
live?
They are fucking incredible. Like I think it's his some of his best stuff. I remember like being like I think I have went off the boil with him in recent years. He's fine. I don't have a problem with him, but a lot of his like recent movie projects and stuff, I'm just like meh. But I remember like everything he touched, I was so enamored with back then.
Yeah. So like I loved Clerks. I like quote like everything about it.
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob, like I still what's Jay's real name?
Oh shit. I do. I know.
Jason Mewes.
Yes, you're right. Hmm.
I follow him and like he's a dad now and he's got two
Good.
kids, but he's still like they call each other they're like hetero life partners.
Nice.
Like they're still
That's good because I know that I
yeah.
remember like because let's say when I was really into them, like he struggled for a long time, and Kevin Smith
Yeah,
was
he had
like
a
helping
drug
him
problem.
out.
Drug
Yeah,
like that was a he's sober now, but I know that that was like a whole
whole saga in his
thing.
life. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
no, but it
But
was
yeah, Kevin was like always there for him and was just like, dude, come live with me, like
yeah,
sort your shit, get you in rehab, let's make another movie,
yeah, good man.
something to do.
Yep,
I wonder how many of Kevin Smith's movies were just like giving Jason Mewes something to do so that he wouldn't do
probably.
drugs.
Why not? Like, yeah, it's
I
a good
know,
reason to if you can
I
if you
know.
have the resources to do that for your friend, why
Right,
not?
right.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
that was huge.
you're hitting some good ones.
Yeah, that was a huge one for me, and I remember buying the VHS for that and like having to like import it because it wasn't like super available in the UK, and it just watching that again as well. Loved it.
Hmm. I just have to drop one that I still love so much. Terminator 2.
Ah, an incredible movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like
loved that too.
I watch it probably once or twice a year still because I just love it so much. And like anytime we're in LA, I'm always like, oh, like that's
Yeah.
where they filmed um Rebel Without a Cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
With James Dean, where they're like, there's the race scene. They filmed Grease there. They also, but like they call it the San Diego River, where they do like all the
Yep.
car racing. But it's just like driving a semi down there and just like, it's so good.
It was
It's
so
so
cool.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie too. I
And
mean,
it's like one of the few times where the second one is so much better than the first.
yes, I definitely agree. I think the first one's a great movie too, but like it is the second one just incredible. And it was the one that really grabbed me, and I was like, whoa, who is this? Who is this guy? And then of course, aliens and stuff as well. And like he just was like
Yeah.
smashing it out of the park, like every
Yeah.
movie he made for a while. James Cameron, this is by the way, in case anybody's wondering. You
Did
know who
he
James
make it?
Cameron is? He
I
made
think it's like
Aliens.
he made Aliens.
Yeah.
Okay, so Aliens, not Alien, is on my list also.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a good movie. It really is. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
watched it again recently, and it also holds up, but it's a very different movie than Aliens.
Alien.
Wait, which one did you say you haven't seen?
I said I've seen them all.
You've seen them
Like
all.
Mike is obsessed. We still have one of his, like, you remember hangers?
Yes.
And like you would be like, you can come in or you can't come in. So he still
Hmm.
has his from what middle school or whatever. That's like an alien, like it's got like the alien, the Geiger uh,
Oh
uh
yeah.
alien, and it's like don't come in, like alien in home or whatever. And
I
it's
love
we
it.
still have it, and it's like still on the wall. And he's like, I will never get rid of it. Like aliens, because I was like, what movie shaped you? And he was like, aliens. And I was like, not alien. He's like, aliens. And I was like, well, the one with Newt or without? And he's like, the one with. And he was like, it's more of like an action movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah,
So good.
I know.
So good.
I know.
But yeah. So I think, I mean, do you have any others you want to talk about, or is there anything else that springs to mind before we start
I
wrapping
mean,
things up?
like the obvious thing, ones like Star Wars
Yeah.
and but I think the ones that you talked about that really hit me, like Trainspotting, man. I
Yeah.
need to watch, like, where I'm like, oh, I need to watch that again.
Yeah.
Like the baby crawling on the ceiling.
I know I like, and I thought that, did you
But
see?
I have still the soundtrack. Like I still have the
Yeah, it's
CD.
incredible. Like
Uh-huh.
that
Like
Underworld Born,
flame.
Born
Yep,
Slippy,
yep.
it was
Born Slippy.
just enormous.
Yeah.
Back in the UK at that around that time, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
But
Around
yeah,
the same time as like Orbital.
yeah,
Uh,
so good,
so good. So
so
good.
good.
Yeah, I think those are like the things that I could think of that really like
Or sort
made an
of,
impact, and that like as an adult, like I'll still think of or like want to
yeah,
watch or
yeah,
be like, my children should never see this
yes,
because it
yes,
fucked me up.
absolutely. Cautionary tale.
Right.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
that's
think
good. Look at me.
so. Yeah, listeners, if you have other ones that you want to add, I would be curious to know what movies uh made an impact on you, and also, yeah, like it's interesting that your country actually like barred.
Yeah.
I remember was it Two Live Crew CD
Uh-huh.
that had, it was like
Parental
that
advisory.
was when they created a explicit lyrics
Yeah.
label,
How
like
interesting.
and like that was a huge thing, like you weren't allowed to get the Two Live Crew CD. So anyways, I'm blabbing.
It's good.
um
So yeah,
you want to talk
so
about Joy?
we're getting to that stage of the podcast
Just
where we ask our favorite question. What's been bringing you joy this week, Beth?
okay, so I'm gonna be
You,
I'm gonna show you up no matter what
oh
what
no.
what you got. So I told you, like, I've got this gratitude jar that I fill, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like pulling the things out now so I can refill it. And as I'm pulling out, like, if I pull something out and it's like, I'm grateful for this person, I've
Mm-hmm.
been sending them like a message just being like, I think you're pretty great.
That's a nice idea.
That's all. Yeah. Um, so I pulled you and our Portugal friends from yoga.
Hmm.
this morning, and it was like I'm grateful for my friends that took this trip with me. And then I pulled you specifically,
Hmm.
like just like from that trip and like how much fun we had. So I just want to say that you bring me joy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That's lovely.
Stop crying.
I'm trying. I like. I know. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. But Beth, what's happening now is that I'm scrambling. I'm like, oh shit. What? How do I top this? Like, what? What do I? How do I do my
It's true
joy?
though. It's true.
I know,
It's
and I
true.
know, and you know the feeling's mutual.
I do.
And like, I feel like if I was to say that my joy is you, that's a cop out. So I'll just go with the dumb thing that I was going to
What are you
say.
watching?
Exactly, which is so like I have always been a big fan of like the Band of Brothers and the Pacific and things like that. Like I'm not always super into war dramas and stuff like that. So like Band of
No.
Brothers was like a Spielberg produced show around the same time as Saving Private Ryan came out, so what, about 20
Okay.
years ago.
Okay. Hmm.
And it was about the kind of an American group of soldiers and their war in their part in World War II, essentially. It kind of followed this one sort of group. There was then the Pacific was about a group of Marines, like different groups of Marines. It was kind of a bit more disparate. And their kind of lives in the Pacific, the fight against the Japanese. Um, and there's a third show has come out, has just started last week called Masters of the Air. It's about the Air Force, and it's about this sort
Is
of
that the one with Elvis guy that played
yes,
Elvis?
Austin Butler
Okay.
in it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Is
he's
this
still
on Apple
it is
TV?
on Apple TV.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he
It's on my list.
it's immediately so great. I really kind of love those
Okay.
things because I think what's good about them is that they don't glorify war at all. They kind of like
Mm,
show it warts and all and how brutal it is. And like the Pacific in particular was very much about, the psychological impact of it and how it affects certain people, but it's great stuff. I'm really happy to have more of that content because it's some like Band of Brothers in particular, I kind of go back to a lot. I just find the kind of brotherhood in those sort of situations kind of quite nice thing to spend a time in. Like perversely, even though it is kind of quite damning about all of these things, like
hmm.
more in general, like I find it
The
to be quite,
connection.
yeah, that connection to be quite like a nice experience to watch around Christmas for. So it's the perfect time for it. Just come in the new year, so yeah,
Hmm.
Masters of the Air. It was
Okay, I'm gonna watch
pretty
it. It's yeah,
sweet.
I saw it. It was like I wanted to watch it, and it was like it's coming out in 2 days, and then I
Yeah,
get annoyed. So I'm like, just release the damn thing,
it's
like I did
also
with our episode today, where I was like, oh,
exactly.
oops,
Oops, yeah, if you're getting it
oops.
early. Uh, the like you may want to wait a bit longer because they're going to release an episode a week. So
Okay. Yeah, I
uh,
hate that too. Just release it all at once so I can binge and like
for
not
streaming,
shower.
I mean, like exactly for streaming services, I do get it, but like I want it all now. I want it all now.
Yeah, I don't you know,
It's
that's
fine.
the culture now, right?
Exactly,
Do you
it's true.
remember waiting for Netflix videos to like show up in the mail?
Yes. The good old days, the good old
I
days.
know, right? Right.
But yeah, but yes. So I think that's us ready to wrap up for
Yes,
today,
sir.
folks. So as always, we would like to remind you to stay
Stay
bendy.
Bendy. How could you go higher than me? I hate
Yes.
you.
This is what incredible range I have, everybody. Right.
Right,
We
right,
love you.
right.
Bye.
Love
Bye
you. Bye,
bye.
bye, bye, bye. Okay,
Okay,
stop.
peace.